de Unidad Educativa Físico-Misional para Personas con Escolaridad Inconclusa, hermano Ángel Pastrana Corral, has taught about the opportunity to help students in the teaching learning process of the English language through online videos, so they can clarify any questions regarding the subject before mentioned. Hi, my name is Charles. Welcome everybody. Now let's review something about there is and there are, likewise some quantifiers. First, I'm going to explain the use of impersonal there be. So we use there is and there are to say that something exists or doesn't exist. The real subject comes usually after there is or there are. Usamos la estructura I para simplemente decir que algo existe o no existe. In affirmative or positive statements, we use there is for singular nouns and things you can count. Here we have the grammar structure. There is plus quantifier plus noun plus location. Use la forma there is I con sustantivos singulares y sustantivos no contables. Here we have some examples. There is an apple on the dish. There is some milk in the refrigerator. There is some bread on the table. Remember to use the articles a or an with singular nouns, and if you have to express the idea of quantity, we usually have to use some with there is and there are. This happens when we have to mention an unsatisfied amount of something. Here we have two examples. As well, use there are for plural nouns, like here. That is to say, we use are with a plural subject. Here we have the structure. In this case, there are plus quantifier plus noun plus location. Here we have two examples. There are 5 girls in our English class. There are some apples near the microwave. In this case, as you could see, the noun girls and apples are countable nouns. So we have to use, in this case, some, or we have to assign a number. In this case, there are 5 girls. In negative statements, if you want to say the opposite, use the negative structure. That is, there is plus not plus quantifier plus noun plus location. Here we have an example. There is not any butter on the table. Para usar la forma negativa y de decir lo opuesto, en este caso nosotros utilizamos luego del impersonal, en este caso there is, utilizamos la negación. Remember, to express the idea of quantity, we usually have to use any, like in the example, which there is and there are. This happens when we have to mention an unsatisfied amount of something. For example, when we are using uncountable noun. In this case, here in this statement, we have the noun butter, so it's an uncountable noun. For plurals, we have to use the following structure. There are plus not, plus quantifier, plus noun, plus location, and in this case we have an example. There are not any cookies in the box. Also, when we want to indicate that a zero quantity of something exists, we use there isn't any or there aren't any, like in the example, there isn't any and there aren't any. To make questions to ask whether something exists or doesn't exist, just change the order of there is and there are, like in the structure. Is there plus quantifier plus noun plus a question mark. Here we have an example. Is there any milk? Remember that the noun milk is an uncountable noun, so we have to use, in this case, in singular form. In the plural form, here we have the are there plus quantifier plus noun plus question mark. The example, are there any sandwich left? As you can see, sandwiches are countable nouns, and this is in plural form. Recuerda entonces, para hacer preguntas, es decir, para preguntar si algo existe o no, solo se debe, en este caso, alterar el orden de there is y there are por is there o are there. We also use there is, there are in a short answer. Don't forget that. As a conclusion, don't forget we generally use some for positive statements and any for negative and interrogative ones. Now, let's make some exercises to understand more about there is and there are. Here we have the instruction. Paint the suitable verb to be to give sense each sentence or question. There is or there are an onion on the table. Here, as you can see, an onion is countable noun, so we have to circle is, the verb to be is. In the next example, there isn't, there aren't any beef. You have to choose isn't, because beef is an uncountable noun. Here we have a question: is or are there any cucumbers in the refrigerator? Here we have to choose are, because cucumbers is a countable noun. In the next example, there is or there are a few of nuts on the plate. We have to circle the verb to be are, because dove nuts are plural. In the next one, there isn't, there aren't any melons. We have to choose aren't, because melons, in this case, is countable noun. In the next one, we have to choose is, because yogurt is an uncountable noun. In the next example, there are a dog in the kitchen. We have to choose is, because the noun dog is singular and it is countable. And in the last one, there isn't, there aren't any soda. We have to choose the verb to be isn't in negative way, because soda is an uncountable noun. Don't forget to use any, to use these words, in this case any, in questions and negative statements. Now I'm going to explain more about the use of much, many, a lot of, a few, and a little. So we can use these words as quantifiers that come at the start of a noun, phrases, and tell us something about quantity. Remember, much and many are used to express that there is a large amount of something. Much and many are used in negative sentences and questions. Many is used with countable nouns and much is used with uncountable nouns. Note, we almost never use much and many in positive sentences. We also always use a lot of. So we have some examples. They don't have much money to buy a present. In this case, we have to choose much because money is an uncountable noun. Here we have a question: is there much milk in the fridge? So we have to use, in this case, the quantifier much because the milk is an uncountable noun too. As well, we have two more examples. I don't have many CDs in my collection. Here we have the noun CDs. As you know, CDs is a countable noun, so we have to use many. The next one, how many brothers do you have? In this case, the noun brothers is a countable noun, so we have to use many. Besides, I'm going to explain more about questions. In this case, how much and how many. Remember, how much is used with non-countable nouns and how many with count or countable nouns. If we want to find out the number of the object that exists, we use how much or how many. Here we have 4 examples. In the first case, how much money do you have? In this case, money is an uncountable noun, so we have to use the quantifier much. In the next one, how many eggs do you want? Here we have another question. Remember, eggs is a countable noun, so we have to use, in this case, the question how many. In the next one, how much coffee do your parents drink? In this case, coffee, the word in blue color, is uncountable, so we have to use how much. In the next one, onions is a countable noun, so we have to use how many. In addition, let's review the quantifiers a lot of, a few, and a little. Let's start with a lot of. Remember, a lot of is used with count nouns and non-count nouns. So we have 2 examples. She has a lot of fun. As you can see, the word in blue color is non-count noun, so we have to use, in this case, the quantifier a lot of. In the next example, there are a lot of dogs. In this case, the word or the noun dogs is a countable noun, so we have to use a lot of too. As well, we use a few and a little to suggest a small quantity. A few is used with countable nouns, that is, nouns which can be counted. It shows a small quantity. It is used in affirmative statements but not in negatives. Remember that. It is used in affirmative statements but not in negatives. A little is used with uncountable nouns or non-countable nouns. So, nouns that can be counted. It shows a small quantity too. It's generally used in affirmative statements, but not in negative or question. Remember that. Here we have two examples. The first one, I read a few books. In this case, the word books is a countable noun or a count noun. So we have to use a few. In the next one, she drinks a little water. We have to choose a little because in this case the brown letter in this case is a non-countable noun. Here we have to contrast these four examples to understanding a better way the use of a few as well, a little and a little. Remember, a few means that we have one or more than one. For example, I have a few lemons. This means that 2 or 3 lemons are not enough for me. And few means, in this case, insignificantly or a small number. In other words, few means none. For example, I have few lemons. This means that 2 or 3 lemons that I have are not still enough. That is, I need more. So remember, a little means some, while little means almost no. Recuerde, en este caso little, few se traducen en español por poco. Se los usa con sustantivos contables y sustantivos no contables. Now let's make some exercises to understand more about how much, how many, a lot of, a few, and a little. Here we have the instruction. Circle the suitable quantifier to fill in the gaps in the questions below. So we have to choose the quantifier. In this case, we have two options, a match and many. So we have to choose one word to complete this backspace. Okay, in this case, and we have to take into account that money is a non-count noun, so we have to choose match. In the next example, there isn't water here. In the same way, we have two options, match and many, so we have to choose in this case match because the noun water is an uncountable noun. In the next example, how chairs are there? Here we have two options and we have to choose the letter B. In this case, the quantifier many because chairs is a countable noun. Here we have another example. There aren't pillows on the sofa. As well, we have two options, match and many, so we have to choose in this case many because the noun pillows is countable. We have another example. I don't get help from my secretary. As you can see, in this case, the word with the blue color is a non-count noun, so we have to choose much. And finally we have there aren't people in my office, so we have to choose between two options, much and many. In this case we choose many because people is a countable noun. Now let's continue with some exercises to understand more about the use of how much, a little, a few, how many, and so on. Here we have the instruction: circle the correct expression of quantity for each question. Say, how much chocolate do you eat every week? Here we have two options: a few and a lot. So we have to choose, in this case, a lot. Remember that a lot of is used with countable and uncountable nouns. The next question is, how many cookies do you eat per day? As you can see, the word in brown color is a countable noun, so we have to choose, in this case, a few. In the next one we have, how much money do you have? As well, we have two options, a lot and a few. Remember that the noun money is uncountable, so we have to use a lot. Here we have another example: how many friends do you have? We have the options and we have to choose a lot because friend is a countable noun. And in the last one, how much milk is there in your refrigerator? Here we have two options, a few and a little, so we have to choose a little because in this case the word milk, or the noun milk, is an uncountable noun. Remember, in this case, how much and how many. Remember the use of these words. In this case, how much is used with uncountable nouns and how many with countable nouns. We have some more exercises. In this case, underline the correct quantifier to complete the questions, taking into account countable and non-countable nouns. Here we have to choose between two options, much and many. So we have a question. In this case, look at the word in blue color. Is an uncountable noun, so we have to underline much. In the next question, how much or how many eggs do you want? Here we have that eggs is a countable noun. For that we have to use many. In the following example, how much or how many time do we have? We have to choose, in this case, the word much or the quantifier much because time is an uncountable noun. In the next example, how much or how many bottles of water do you drink per day? We have to choose between two options. In this case, we have to choose many because bottles is a countable noun. And in the exercise number 5, how much or how many Jagger is there in the refrigerator? We have to choose much because Jagger is an uncountable noun. And in the exercise number 6, how much or how many hours do you work? We have to underline the quantifier many because in this case hours is a countable noun. Here we have another example: how much or how many coffee do you drink every month? We have to underline the quantifier much because in this case the noun coffee is uncountable noun. Here we have how much or how many onions do we need? So we have to underline many. In this case, remember that onions is a countable noun. And the last one, how much or how many cheese do you want in your sandwich? Here we have to underline much because cheese or the noun cheese is an uncountable noun. So this is all about there are, how much, how many, a little, and a few. I hope that these topics or this explanation helped you to improve your learning into the teaching learning process. And don't forget that educating the mind without educating the heart is no education at all. Aristotle. Thanks.